Alright, so what I'm working on today is air injection delete on this 351 Windsor. It's a 1991 Ford F-250 truck. It's a whole bunch of crap. Like, I've got hoses, there's those solenoids, those valves down in there behind the coil. There's a big ugly pump right kind of down there, and it's a reliability issue. It's extra drag on the motor, extra fuel burned. It's just silly. That's why they got rid of it. These two filters, all these lines, this is all to do with the air injection, so it's all gonna go away. First step first, down on that pump there's this pulley right here held on by these 3 bolts. So while your belt's still on, take a 10mm socket and a ratchet like this and pull this pulley off. At least take the bolts out, and then once your belt's off, then take a pry bar and pop this pulley off. It's pretty self-explanatory, so I didn't feel like I needed to film that part. Next, what I did is, with that pulley out of the way to determine what length of belt that I need, is I used a set of ice grips and pinched off, I'd say that's probably about 1.5 inches, but we'll find out once we go to the auto parts store and get a new belt, a little bit shorter, and then put it back together. And the way I determined that was a pretty good length was I put marks on the tensioner. So there's fully relaxed minimum mark, and then fully expanded mark over here. And then that way I know if this is about in the middle here somewhere, I've got a little room for stretch in the belt, stretch and wear, and I've got enough play to get the belt on comfortably and easily enough. So now let's go to the auto parts store. And off we go to the auto parts store. Just a short drive for me, which is nice. So we ended up matching up two, one a little bit longer, one a little bit shorter. And you can kind of see, where the pump is down there, but the belt's bypassing where the pulley was. And this one's just a smidge close to minimum tension on the tensioner there. So I'm gonna go to the next size shorter and see how that one fits. Alright, that one is definitely better. So you can see we're just about in the middle right now, so that'll work nicely. The belt that ended up being the right one is that part number right there. So then you don't have to do the work yourself. If your truck's a little bit different, a little bit of a different application, the process is the same, but that part number won't be. And then, of course, as with any belt install, I'm gonna make sure all our tools are clear, and then we're gonna fire it up and make sure it's going round and round properly. Looking good. I dare say that made it a little bit more grumbly out the exhaust, which is what I was hoping for. My theory is that with these pipes feeding air into the tops of the ports, like that one there, and then that one there, and that one there, my theory is that air rushing in kind of breaks up the pulses coming out of the ports, making it a little bit quieter. Next thing I did was I removed all of this stuff from under the hood. These are all the air valves. This is the filter setup for the air into the Smog pump. This was the pipe down to the catalytic converter, and the Smog pump itself. This was not long for the world anyways. It was squeaky and quite tight, so looks a heck of a lot better under there. Next, I removed these spider looking doohickeys. you put them like that, they kind of look like a spider. Remove those, and these are the lines that actually inject the air into the exhaust ports there, into each individual exhaust port, hence there being 8 of them. And to get rid of them, basically all I did was I cut them off of the fittings using an angled and a straight die grinder with a cutting attachment. You can get this stuff at any auto parts store, hardware store, stuff like that. Just use the straight one or the angled one depending on the spot I need it to be in, switching back and forth between them. And then I just cleaned each fitting up with the roll lock attachment with a little sandpaper attachment on it. And once the fittings were clean enough, I just welded over the holes in each fitting. The one on this side here, on the passenger side, was kind of a two-piece situation like this. So this piece wrapped down and around the back side of the manifold right in there, and so I just had to cut it in half to get it out without taking a whole bunch of other stuff apart. And then the one on the driver's side just popped right out of there. These are the check valves, the original check valves to keep a bunch of exhaust from pushing back up and into the air injection system, but won't be needing any of that anymore. It sure opens up all kinds of room under the hood here. Still kind of chaotic, but a nice big gap over there now. Nice big void where the vacuum pump was. All of this is open, so you can actually get at your ignition coil now. So I've just used this handy vacuum cap kit from the auto parts store, and I capped off this pink line here. It went up to a big air valve right here that's no longer in the system. It was just easier to do that than to try to pull it out of this whole loom and everything else. And then the other one already had a little adapter plug in it, so I capped that one right there, and it teed off and went to two big air valves kind of up in here, and they are also all gone. So these two solenoids, I'm just going to leave them. They don't take up a lot of space. They're kind of incorporated into the ignition coil bracket, and I don't want to end up with any open circuit codes and a check engine light, so I'm just going to leave them in place. This one right here, this green line, white line, and this solenoid are for the EGR. So you can follow it up here, and you can see this green line hooks up to the EGR valve. I'm just going to leave that in place. Next thing I got to deal with is at the back of the engine here, there's a port right there and a pipe. It's kind of hard to see, but it goes to the back of the head on that side and the back of the head on that side. Some people get the proper caps to block off the holes in the back of the head and take that pipe out of there, but it's a real pain on the back of the engine, and realistically that pipe and that check valve don't take up very much room at all, so I'm just going to leave them in there. I'm going to go to the auto parts store tomorrow and get a cap for that, like a heater hose cap, and block it off. So it is the next day now, and I went to the auto parts store. I got this kit here. There's a couple of 3/4 inch caps in there. I just bought extras because I always seem to need them for something. And what I've done is I put that cap on there and a hose clamp. And she seems to run really good, so I'm happy with that. Probably my favorite thing about all the extra room that is created is the fact that it's real nice and easy to get at that transmission dipstick now. Before, with that manifold there, it was actually really quite difficult to get the transmission dipstick in and out. Here's after the smog pump delete. It sounds a little bit throatier to me, but maybe I'm just imagining it.